My story with writing began with reading. I've always read a lot, especially fiction. And I think that's kind of what got me addicted to good writing. And then during COVID, I started writing poetry to kind of help me, I guess, process what was happening. From then on, I decided to test out a creative writing class, and that's when my writing journey kind of really began. The creative writing class was a really good environment for me to begin and start writing because it was such a welcoming environment with a welcoming audience, and it also really helped my writing because I was getting thoughtful feedback, and I was also getting inspired by other people's work. Once COVID got a little bit better, I started film school, and from then on, my writing was more sort of script writing, and amongst all the other things that I learned at film school, script writing was one of the things that I was taught, the basics of script writing. And I think what I'm trying to do now is to combine the lessons that I learned in my creative writing class and storytelling lessons that I learned there with more script writing knowledge and more knowledge of the way that writing can translate to screen. I've learned about story beats in both the creative writing class and film school, and although story beats work a little bit differently for scripts than novels, they do still have a similar function and way of functioning, so I could apply that to both. I also learned about the importance of character, and that can be applied to both novel writing and script writing because character work is just as important in movies as it is in novels. So why I love writing primarily is because I love to play with words, as many of you do too, I'm sure. I also love getting to know my characters, and then of course on the good days when I'm inspired and suddenly it sort of clicks and comes together and I know how to improve on a piece of work, that's also really encouraging. Other elements that come to mind is sort of you can bring stories and feelings to light and share them with people, stories that you haven't necessarily read about or heard about. You also get to build worlds, you get to live in somebody else's reality for a little bit. It's creation, it's fun. It's also really fulfilling when you start to feel like your personality gets a voice because it starts to shine through your work. The most difficult parts about writing is that, writing is hard. Like anything creative that you have to shape and mold out of nothing and bring to life yourself, it's difficult. It can be really frustrating. You feel like your piece could always be better. You also, especially at the beginning, there's a gap between the writing that you're doing and the writing that you would like to do, especially for people who read a lot. And that distance, that gap can feel really discouraging because it's big, especially at the beginning, it's quite a big gap. Another thing that I struggle with, specifically with screenwriting, is that I write, in my opinion, too much dialogue and I don't use visual language enough. And obviously for film, that's important. I think it's because I have difficulty sort of seeing how my writing can translate to the screen, so that's something that I'm working on right now. Another thing that I struggle with is that a lot of my writing is never going to see the light of day. Not even because I don't like it, although that sometimes is the case, but other times it's just because it was an exploration or a writing exercise that I was using to hone a specific skill or to test a specific idea. And whilst that is completely normal and part of the craft of writing, it can feel like a complete waste of time. So that's, mentally that can be hard sometimes. And the last fear that I think I share with a lot of people is that my writing can sometimes feel silly and pointless. Like, this has probably been written before, this has been done better before already. Why am I doing this? What I tell myself to get out of that specific mental space is that any writing that I manage to do is learning experience. It's a contribution towards better writing in the future. But, still sometimes it's, I think, a little bit discouraging to be like, ugh, what am I doing with my life? One of the main things that has helped me to continue to write and to continue to improve my writing is that I'm now a part of a writers group, and we meet every 2 weeks to every month, and basically it helps because I get feedback which sharpens my skills, and then on top of that, deadlines really push me to actually get writing done and to share it, even if it's imperfect, even if it's not finished, whatever. Just share what you have and improve upon that, and you're good. Another element of the writing group is that I think when you read somebody else's work, especially I think in the sort of beginning stages, it feels like a really intimate experience, and like you get to know someone in a different way through their writing. So it helps to share your own writing because that trust has been built between you. Other resources that have helped me to write and get out of my own head and just put pen to paper are 3 different books. So the first one is The Right to Write by Julia Cameron. She is better known for Morning Pages and for writing The Artist Way, which is about creativity in general. But The Right to Write is, as the name would suggest, specifically about writing. And I think the most useful thing about that resource is that she helps you to realize that you're already a great resource by making you pull from your own life experiences. And on top of that, it really hones your personal writing voice because you are using your own stories. Another element that helps improve upon your writing is that she pushes you to use your observational skills to then apply that to your writing. Examples of exercises are, one that comes to mind is the narrative timeline. So basically you make a narrative timeline of your life in 5-year increments, and then you pull from within that cups, she calls them, to create stories, to create, whatever piece of creative writing you want to create from that. I do think that's really important because, as the name of the novel is, you are reminded and encouraged that you have the right to write. The next book I want to talk about is called Steering the Craft by feminist sci-fi queen Ursula Le Guin. This is more about bringing it back to basics and really using the tools that you have as a writer, all of the tools that you have, in a very effective way and in the accurate way. So she will talk about grammar, she will talk about punctuation, she will talk about point of view in a compelling way. For example, in chapter 1, she has an exercise called Being Gorgeous, which focuses on the sound of your writing. And the idea is that you write half a page to a page of narrative that is meant to be read aloud. And you use whatever you want to use, even made up words, to write that piece. But you cannot use rhyme, at least not in the first part of the exercise. And to me, this was helpful because as a filmmaker, I do need to pay attention to the way that my writing sounds like, especially when I'm writing dialogue, voiceover, whatever it is. Sound is an incredibly important part of filmmaking. The last resource that I want to talk about is called Craft in the Real World by Matthew Salises. This is more about storytelling and rethinking storytelling in a way that is less Eurocentric. So, for example, you will look at different craft terms, etc., and kind of bring forth traditions, storytelling traditions that are not European. One example of that is that when he looks at structure, he looks at, for example, Asian storytelling structure, in particular the 4-act structure that's called Kisho Tenketsu. So you've got Ki, which is the introduction, Sho, which is the development, Ten, which is the twist, and Ketsu, which is the end, the conclusion. He really aims to rethink craft terms and rethink writing workshops in a way to make it more accommodating to people who are not from a European or a white background, and to attract people of diverse backgrounds. This is obviously something that I am also trying to pay attention to in my own work. So this has been a really, really important resource to sort of dip in and out of as I'm writing my stuff. That is it for me for now. If any of you have, are writers and have writing tips, writing resources to sort of go the distance with writing and feel less anxious and, feel more confident, by all means share them in the comment. I will put all of the resources that I mentioned in the description below so that you can check them out. That's all for now. Goodbye.